All right, y'all. Well, welcome to our Spiders Lead podcast for the month of October. I am so excited for our guest today. I think with just the way of the world today and all the things going on, I can't think of a better guest than Chief Eric English to join us today. So these sessions are always about, leadership and taking care of others and how to just get better every day and make a difference in the world. And so our guest today has had more than 30 years in law enforcement. So I think in terms of a public service, this is it. So Chief English is an alum of the University of Richmond. He got a degree in criminal justice and sociology. He was also a member of our basketball team from 1985 to 1989. And so I've been chatting with him a little bit beforehand. We are excited for him to see the new Quealy Athletic Center for sure. And we'll make sure you get a personal tour over here because I think it'll probably look a little different than when you were here. I think you'll be pretty proud. And then super interesting fact about you, you also have a degree from VCU. And so I think we'll have to have some rivalry discussions at some point with that combo. But that's such a great combination of degrees for our student athletes that are interested in this field. I think is great. And you and your wife, Felisa, have two children and grandparents of twins, which I'm super impressed with because I can't even handle one at a time. So twins is especially impressive. And I think what's really important about you and why we really wanted to bring you on today is just kind of this perspective of all the different things you've gained as a student athlete, but then also from law enforcement and just that combination. So you have recently been promoted to the Chief of Police for Henrico County Public Police Department. And before that, you've kind of served in a variety of roles throughout the Richmond greater area as a deputy chief and as an officer and sergeant. Also just your different experiences nationally. And I apologize, we're still working on these lights in here with the Senior Management Institute of Police, member of the Virginia Association of Chief of Police and the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. And you're currently the president of the Central Virginia chapter of that department. So really, really great background, really great. Can tell you are a family guy and just serving your community. The accolades, the involvement, and the leadership, I think, is just so important. And so, we always try to do a little bit of a historical biography about our guests, but I really wanted to take the time first, Eric, for you to just kind of tell everyone a little bit more about who you are and what we might not know from maybe a biography or just kind of a quick Google search, like who are you and tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, it's not a whole lot to tell about me. I mean, most of what you said is really what I'm all about. I've always been a fan of sports. Even though I played basketball, I played baseball and football in high school as well. And I love watching sports on TV. So my wife had to get accustomed to that in terms of the television watching. So I love it all. And I got into the business of public service. And this is something that I've enjoyed for, I've been doing it 31 years now. October the 9th was my 31st year in policing. Wow. And so I've been doing it 31 years now. And it's just something I enjoy because I have a passion for people and I want to see people succeed. And this profession has provided me an opportunity to do that. For me to decompress from there, I really can't say something that somebody would Google search and not know about me, but my hobby is golf. I love to decompress and get on the golf course and just enjoy myself for 4 or 5 hours and hanging out with my group of guys that I golf with and just joke around and have a good time. And so it does take me away from the stressors of this job and pretty much the stressors of life in general.
I love that. People keep telling me this golf thing's not stressful. I don't know. It is very stressful for me. I think I got to practice more till I can get to the non-stress part. So I love that though. And Virginia is the perfect place for golf. So yes. I love that. Well, I wanted to start by you taking us back a little bit to some of your really early days in kind of the police force. And if you can tell us a little bit about maybe one of the first times you really felt like a leader and then the lessons you learned from that and I guess the big takeaway is like, do you still do any of those lessons that you learned today, or are there things that you do a lot differently kind of from those early years?
Well, it's interesting you say when I started policing, because I'm going to take you a little bit further back than that. And I felt like a leader, really my senior year at U of R, when I was in the basketball team, I was named one of the 4 captains on that team. And, I took a lot of responsibility to lead that team. And again, there were 4 of us that were named captains, but, I think I played a major role on that team in the 88-89 season. And one of the things that you learn as a leader is you got to lead by example. And that's one of the things that I try to do, as a player, and still one of the things I try to do in my profession currently. So even when I was named a supervisor in 1996 in Richmond, I moved up to the rank of sergeant. Those were some of the things that I knew that I had to do. I had to, you just don't get a leader. People don't follow you just because you make rank. You have to earn that position. And so one of the things that I've always been told is that you have to lead by example, and people have to be able to trust you. And so I've always done that. And I've always told my folks that, I'm not going to put you in a situation of something I wouldn't do or I haven't already done myself. And so I've had a lot of experiences in this profession, and I continue to do that to this day. So even today as a chief of police, I've been on ride-alongs with my officers. So it's not like I don't go out and answer calls with them on occasion as well. So I think that says a lot to especially young people that are on the department. It says a lot about the chief that gets out there and is willing to go out on the road with them. So that's been the main thing for me.
I love that. And I love what you said about, the rank only means so much. So you gotta show it, and you gotta lead by example, and you're still getting in the weeds, even in your, high position to many people, I'm sure, in your department now. I bet it's a big deal when you go on a ride along.
Yeah, it's interesting when the chief chimes up on the radio. It kind of sparks everybody's interest.
I imagine you make a couple people jump.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And I think, we talk so much about leadership in sports and how it transcends, the 4 to 5 years they have in college. And I think you still using those skills from you being a team captain in basketball, and it's a little bit different team, obviously with the police, but you're still using a lot of those skills that you learned back then now. So.
Well, you have an opportunity to be a decision maker. And so, when more responsibility is put on you, you have that opportunity to make changes the way you feel like they need to be. And it's the same way in sports. As you're a team captain, they have imparted that leadership ability to you. And so as a chief of police, now I'm at a level where I have an opportunity to have a say-so how things are run in my organization. That doesn't mean I don't get buy-in from my people, but at the same time, I have to feel comfortable with how the organization is run. So I like having that voice and, having that input into how policing should be.
I 100% agree. And that actually, that takes us into probably the biggest question I'm sure you're getting asked a lot these days. And that really is, you're the first Black chief of police in Henrico County. There is social unrest throughout the country, in the world right now. And so how has, your leadership experience that you kind of touch on in philosophy, how has it helped you lead during this tough time?
Well, it's a couple of things. One is before I came here to Henrico County, I was in Harrisonburg, Virginia for 2 years as police chief there. So I was the first African-American chief in Harrisonburg as well. So that kind of gave me a little bit of insight in coming here and being the chief here in Henrico. And the things that, I've really, really experienced is that, just trying to change philosophy and the way people think. Going into Harrisonburg, and I told my staff this when I got there, they were policing like it was 1998 and it was 2018. And so, again, sometimes people only know what they know. And so I think me coming in, bringing a fresh set of ideas, thought processes, I think it kind of changes the way people look at it and view policing. Even in my short time here, and I've only been here a month today, there's been quite a few changes that people have been waiting for here in our organization. And so that has given me a little bit of insight into the changes that need to come in the organization here. I think it's great when you have individuals that are forward-thinking people in policing, and all they're doing is looking for that push to kind of move forward with what some of the ideas they have. Because a lot of the ideas we've had here, they have been here. People have been waiting for them, and now it's just being able to empower those individuals to go ahead and use those ideas and take them to the next level.
I love that. And how do you, I think a lot of young leaders today are probably looking for, I've got all these great ideas, but I'm nervous to talk about it, or I'm nervous to implement them. What would you tell somebody in that situation?
Well, the thing is, in policing, the conversation is it goes through a chain of command. But one of the things I've told my supervisors is that you have to have input and buy-in from your people. And so one of the things that, we tell them is you got to listen, because we don't have all the answers. Even though we may be the leaders in the organization, those that are out there each and every day have some great ideas about how things should be done. And so we got to make sure that they are providing some input into how it's done. So I encourage our officers at any level to make sure you bring ideas to your supervisors, and making sure the supervisors listen to those ideas and allow them to implement it. Because again, we don't have all the answers. They may take something and they may fail at it, but at least they're having some ideas and they're trying to think about things that they feel should be done in order to try to rectify some of the issues they're dealing with on the street. So I do try to empower those individuals to go ahead and send those ideas up, and it may be something that we utilize.
I love that. And I will give our men's lacrosse team a shout out here. They did a whole leadership session with me last week on listening. And I think, that is a skill that we just all naturally think we have, but we don't, right? Like, it takes effort, and there's a difference between hearing and active listening, and how important that is. And so you really hit the nail on the head there with going out and listening. I think that's just so important. I love that message. So you seem like a very calm and level-headed individual. And so I'm wondering, how do you keep that nice, clear, level head in just all of the ups and downs of what is your job? And I'm sure especially just kind of the state of the world today. Like, how do you keep that clear mind and head?
Well, I'll tell you, sometimes it's difficult. I mean, you see a lot of things that are going on, and sometimes it is very difficult, but yeah. At the same time, as a leader, your personnel are looking for you to be that calming influence on the organization. And so I try to stay as level as I can. There are some situations where I do get frustrated. I mean, that's just the nature of the job. But at the same time, I try to take a deep breath. I try to evaluate situations that are occurring across our country and internally in our organization. And I try to make sound decisions. And I think a lot of times, if I do get frustrated and I feel myself going to a different level that I'm not accustomed to, I bring people in and we have conversations because, again, I want to make sure I get buy-in from my staff. So those are the methods I use. And again, when you talk about being that common influence, that's why a lot of times I tell people, always do something outside of this profession, and don't just have police friends. Have people you can lean on, that you can talk to, because again, if you allow this job to do it, it can suck the life out of you if you allow it to do that. But you have to have some other outside influences that are going to kind of keep you in that calm realm. And golf is mine. I mean, I just love it. I mean, that's what I do. Those are some of the things that I utilize in order to keep me on a level playing field, so to speak.
I love that. So leave Chief alone if you're at the golf course. Let the man do his thing.
There you go. I don't want to take any phone calls, any of that.
I love that. And I love what you said about, when you feel like you aren't as level-headed, you bring other people in, right? Because we all have those days or those moments or just like certain situations that just get under our skin the wrong way. And bringing in, like you said, those outside people or just a fresh perspective to kind of help talk you down or talk you through it or give you that new way to think about things, I think is just such a great piece of advice for leaders everywhere.
Because a lot of times you're responding to people, either by email or by a phone call. And I mean, there's been plenty of times where I typed the email and I had to look at it and reread it. And it's like, I may not want to send that email. So you got to bring yourself back down, because sometimes it does get frustrating, because a lot of times people take their frustrations out on you. And although I might not be the individual they're taking it out on, a lot of times they're taking it out on the profession itself. And I'm just the person that's the face of that. So again, a lot of times I may have somebody reread my email and say, what do you think about that? You know, they might say, well, that might not be the right words to use. So you got to make sure that, you know, you do have that common influence, because again, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to make people angry, but I do want to make sure I'm responsive to people's needs.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the you type it out sometimes and don't send it. I use that a piece of advice a lot with our athletes is, hey, go ahead and write the angry email, but just don't hit send, right? Like get it all out on paper and then maybe reread it about 24 hours. See if you still feel that way, right? Yeah. So I think that that's such a good piece of advice, and just getting that fresh set of eyes on it. And you talked about, you know, just talking to other people that aren't, you know, don't work in the police department, right? And I think sometimes, to your point, all of us just get wrapped up in our own worlds, or we just want validation of our opinions. So we just go seek out people that think like us. And what we really need is, you know, somebody that gives us a different way of looking at things, or that fresh set of eyes. So
that is so true, Lauren. And I totally agree. And that's why I try to get people to understand that, because again, we get caught in our own little bubble as police officers sometimes, and we don't really look at it from the perspective of a citizen. And that's why I think it's important to have those conversations with people outside of the profession, because we, like you said, we look at it from a tactical standpoint. We look at it from our general orders and how we're guided and what we're doing. And sometimes we forget about, all right, what if this was your mom? What if this was your dad? You got to look at it from a totally different perspective. And then when you do that, you kind of get an understanding of maybe we could have done this differently, and maybe we could have talked a little bit differently. Yeah. Those things I think are extremely important in this profession.
I love that. And when you make it personal like that, you really can put yourself in the other person's shoes and kind of look through it from their lens. And yes. I think especially I know in our world, but especially in your world, we're just like going a million miles a minute. And sometimes we need that kind of step back to really, really think things through.
Yeah, no doubt.
I love that. Well, what you talked a little bit about being a team captain, and that was your kind of first leadership experience. What advantages do you think your experience at UR has given you for the life that you've created now? I think, you know, people would look at you and they would see success and like this man with tremendous accomplishments and accolades and leadership. But, you know, how did UR kind of help you in getting to where you are today?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. And one of the things that we're trying to focus, you know, even on recruitment, is we're looking at athletes, you know, in coming into this profession. And there's a couple of reasons for that. And I think this is what helped me at University of Richmond. You know, playing sports is a team concept. Again, you want to have success, but your individual success leads to team success. But one of the things that are really important in law enforcement is the ability to communicate. And in team sports, I mean, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to talk to your teammates. You got to let them know the pick is coming. You got to let them know what plays you're running. All those things are important. And so it's the same type of concept when you're coming into law enforcement. I think that's what really helped me in terms of coming into a university and playing college basketball. People would tell you that coming into school, I wasn't very talkative. I mean, I was pretty shy, especially in terms of where I am now. And now, you know, going into sports, I think that kind of brought a little bit more of that out of me, the ability to communicate, and then just teamwork. In this profession, it takes a lot of teamwork in order to accomplish a lot of the things that we're doing. You go on a search warrant, or you have a strategic plan that you're trying to implement. You have to be able to communicate, draw that plan out, and execute that plan in order to be successful. And so it's the same thing in college sports. And I think a lot of that has benefited me from playing basketball at University of Richmond and kind of extending it to my current profession.
I love that. And the communications piece, I think, is huge. And hearing you say you were quiet, right? You know, there's so many of our student athletes, especially, you know, like a freshman that's scared to kind of speak up or still finding their way. The ability to communicate, and even going back to that listening piece, and that's a great form of communication, right? Is just to start there, and how, you know, you were able to kind of develop those more vocal communication skills as you grew, and still grow in teams today, right? With all the different initiatives that you're doing and problem solving that has to be done. That communications piece is just everything. And so sports is one of the best ways to learn that, because you better know when that pick's coming, or somebody's be real mad at you later if you don't.
There you go. You're exactly right. And again, you know, you hear about silent leaders, but I would tell you, in this profession, you got to be vocal about what you want, and so I think that's important. And like I said, college sports, kind of taught me that and kind of grew me to that level. And then just getting through adversity. The thing is, there's always adversity when you're playing college sports, and you got to be able to power through those things. And we experience adversity in this profession. And I tell my guys, we always come out better. So, you just got to make sure you kind of roll with the punches, and you will eventually get through it.
Yeah, and that's, we talk about a lot just as a society. People don't know like what losing feels like anymore. Like we're in such an instant gratification.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody gets a trophy. And like, if you played a sport, like, what losing feels like, and that you're going to work harder so that doesn't happen as often.
There you go.
But you also develop the skills to know that a loss isn't going to define you, right? Or a loss isn't going to be who you are at your core as a person. Like you are still a confident, person that's here to serve others and take care of people regardless of that piece. And so that's just such a tough thing to teach these days. And so I think sports does a great job, like you said, at really making sure that happens and that we learn that skill, because it's important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then again, Lauren, as you mentioned, the confidence piece is also a critical piece for a leader as well. You have to be confident about what you're doing, the decisions you're making, and you got to make sure that you feel good about the direction you're trying to take an organization, especially in policing. The members of the organization are looking for you, and if you're wavering on decisions, wavering on how you want to lead, your folks recognize those things, and again, it's very difficult for people to follow you when you do that. So you got to be confident in what you're doing, and I certainly appreciate the 2 years I had in Harrisonburg, because I really think it has prepared me to come here and lead a much larger organization.
Yes, I feel like people will follow you well. You sound like you know what you're doing there.
So, I hope so.
I love that. It's that confidence, though. It makes people want to follow you, like you said. I think the other piece of that I'm hearing you say is that consistency piece, right? Like they know what to expect when they're going to come talk to you. You outline and define things for them well, and they know that there's a plan. And so that's important.
Oh yeah. Even coming here, as I talked to my staff, my senior command staff here, I told them coming in, I have a plan of what I want here in Henrico Police Department to look like. I do, but there are also people that have been here for years that have institutional knowledge about the organization. So I don't come in and automatically just throw my plan at them. I want to make sure I listen to find out, all right, why did we get here? How did we get here? Yeah. And if it makes sense, then maybe I alter my plan. But for me, if it doesn't make sense and it doesn't move us forward, then that's when I'm going to implement my plan and change the way we're doing things. And so these are some of the things as a leader coming to an organization that you have. I have, like I said, I have my vision, but not necessarily I'm going to impart all of my vision on the department. But there are going to be a lot of things that I feel we need to be doing, especially in this critical time of policing in the era we're in right now.
Absolutely. And you've kind of got your non-negotiables there that are very important to you, right?
Yes. Yes. You must have been in my primary meeting, because that's what I told my senior staff that. I said, there are going to be some decisions that we're going to talk about, and we're going to come to some agreement. And I told them in the beginning, I said, but there are going to be some decisions that's going to be made just because I know that's what I want to do. And so they got to live with it.
There's the non-negotiables and there's the adaptive side, right?
Yes, they are.
I love that. Well, I got one more question for you. This has been so great hearing from you and everything that you're doing there. I'm so excited for our community, not just the people listening to this call, but just the Henrico community. We have got a lot of young student athletes. We've got a lot of adults that really want to help make change right now, and just help make a difference. And I think especially in not just in the world of social unrest, but also COVID and masks and trying to stay apart. Like, what are the conversations we need to be having with our young leaders now to help impact change and inspire them to impact change?
Well, I think the conversations need to continue. I think one of the things that I don't want our young people to do is just have a voice for a short period of time and then we stop and we do nothing. I think those have to be continuous conversations. And I always tell people the changes you want to see, and I use the old basketball analogy, Don't just sit on the sidelines, but get in the game. I think it's important for you to do that because, again, I say the same thing in our profession here. There's a lot of people that are hesitant about getting into the policing profession because of the things they see. But I always tell them the one reason I'm still in it because I want to stay in the game. I don't want to be a sideline police officer. We have an opportunity to make not only this profession, but we have the opportunity to make this world what we want it to be. But you have to be involved. And if you're not involved, it's difficult for you to have an opinion if you don't want to get involved. So I just encourage our young people to continue those things and making sure you have a voice.
I love that so much. And I think that is the perfect way to get us out of here today is to leave them with that is, you really hit on so many good points. I was jotting down notes the whole time as you were talking. And I think the big takeaways for everybody listening is goes back to that communication. And some of that's listening, some of that's building teams, some of that's asking questions and being in the weeds. And sometimes that's those powerful decisions that have to be made to change an organization that kind of delivered today. I think that those are so important. I was a dancer, so in my world, we always said life isn't a dress rehearsal, right? And so right. I'm gonna leave everyone with exactly what you said is now is not the time to sit on the sidelines. It's the time to get in the game and go 100% full speed ahead and help make an impact for forever, not just for the 30 seconds that it's a conversation. Let's keep having these for the rest of our lives so we can really make that long lasting change. So thank you so much. It was an honor to have you on, and we are very excited to see you thrive in this new leadership role. And we got to get you over here on campus soon to see your new basketball home.
Well, thanks, Lauren. I appreciate it, and I do have to get back over there because, man, I heard that facility is something special.
Cool. I'll tell you what. We'll have an opening ceremony. We'll make sure you get over here and get the first class tour.
All right, sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.